Yeah. Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. Do not do these things. I have to assume that you do not know how to make any weed out of backwoods. On today's episode, get them swishes sweets right. We will be talking a little bit of NBA for the first time this year. I mean, this year is only 2 weeks old, but you get what I'm saying, during this part of the season. But we're actually going to talk about, to start, a little bit of college football drama, if you want to say, or inquisition. Dante Moore, the projected number 2 overall pick in this coming up draft, has announced that he is going back to Oregon next season for the 2026 season. I think this wasn't that shocking because if you listen to Todd McShay, or really Todd McShay, he said months ago that Moore was coming back to school, but it got a little confusing when he kept being projected as a number 2 pick, and I guess, he never officially said it, so they had to keep him around. And this is how much people just do not want to go to the Jets, because Dante Moore, last season, the number 2 overall pick, Travis Hunter, was guaranteed $46.66 million for his 4-year contract, 4-year deal. Right now, they're projecting that this year's second overall pick, which everyone assumes is going to be Moore, he might be the number 1 pick, is going to be between $40 and $50 million. Dante Moore, while yes, college kids are getting paid, he's only making this season roughly $2.4 million rather. Excuse me. To play for Oregon this year. So he is essentially saying, I'd rather play in college for less than a tenth of what I might get to go to the Jets. Once again, the Jets are the land of make-believe. No one wants to go there. Okay? That is the real bad never land. And you juxtapose that to the idea of, again, Fernando Mendoza looks like he's going to be number 1 pick in this draft, and he's going to go to the Raiders. Everyone believes he's going to go to the Raiders. Obviously, if nothing bad happens or anything crazy like that happens, he's going to be number 1 pick. But my biggest question for Oregon is, why is the dude that's been cosplaying Patrick Mahomes for the last couple of years transferred to the school? Dylan Raiola is going to Oregon. It seems like he's going to stay at Oregon. He just transferred over to the team, and I'm very kind of curious because I feel like he got some bad advice of why he's going to go. Dylan Raiola and Dante Moore are the same age. Not only that, Raiola's played more games than Dante. It's not a lot, but Raiola has 22 career starts to Dante Moore's 20. And I'm just going to read some of the comments that Dante Moore got, because obviously people asked him, do you know that Raiola's going to come back? He said he called him a great dude and said that he can observe how he competes, and he believes that he will be a great addition to the quarterback room. He says that he talks about his experience last season because Moore was backing up Dylan Gabriel, who's now in the NFL, and says that Raiola can learn a lot from him. And I'm like, y'all the same guy. And you cannot tell me that this is not going to be some type of friction in the room. He said that Moore said he is going to mentor him as the little bro. This is one of the same situations I don't know if anyone remember that clip of Carl Towns talking to Ant Edwards. And Ant basically saying, like, yes, we've been telling Carl he needs to know how to stop fouling. He needs to know how he needs to be locked into games. He needs him to stay aggressive, but, we're working on that. When Carl was the vet and he was the young guy. I don't know how this one is going to play out, how the young man is essentially the boss man of this and is going to have this fine dynamic between these two. But I think the larger story from Dante Moore's decision is this is going to be a very very boring draft. So the draft, by and large, is a television product. They do not need to broadcast these things, right? I mean, a lot of times these things were just held in hotels, way back in the day, and then they just wrote them on the card, and you had some available press there to see who would get drafted. Now, ever since the NFL started to take this thing on the road, and every city is getting a chance to host the draft, they are essentially making it a theater event, right? And the biggest thing about the draft, as you saw from last season, was the fact that it is, by and large part, a television show. The reason why I know that is because all the draft coverage, once we got past the first round, was just, where will Shedeur get drafted? Where will Shedeur get drafted? Where will Shedeur get drafted? When is Shedeur going to get drafted? And that lasted for days on end, right? Because obviously it wasn't taken in the first 3 rounds, and he ended up getting picked on a Saturday. But when I tell you the list of guys that we are talking about now for this draft, outside of Mendoza, we have Cade Klubnik, we have Drew Allen, we have Carson Beck, who's about to play in this game. Trinidad Chambliss is an odd one because he applied and worked out a deal with Ole Miss to go back to the school, but the NCAA said that he's not eligible to play anymore. I guess they're going to still work to see if he's going to be in there, but to me, he's the biggest wild card if he decides to go to the NFL, or if that's honestly his only option, right? Because if he can't keep playing college football anymore, we are in for a really, really, really weak quarterback class in the sense of names. Now, I do not know if any of these guys are going to be good. As of right now, of the guys that are available, Mendoza, I think, is clearly the best guy in this draft. And from Ty Simpson to any of the other guys I just mentioned, I really don't see them being anything more than maybe like backups in this league. Trinidad, I think, is the one guy that I think is the most interesting because of his ability to move and kind of make plays outside the pocket. But that can only get you so far for so long. And he's not a tall guy, and he's not that big. So I'll be interested to see if he's able to get drafted in any of the first 3 rounds. But we are in for a very, very, very long, strenuous, and frankly boring NFL draft, especially since Moore has taken his name out of consideration. All right. After we just talked about Moore and college football for a little bit, we're going to slide on over to the NBA, do some quick hitters on this, right? And so I'll tell you guys a quick story before we get into too much deep coverage. So I have a friend, right? And I would argue, while he does not see himself this way, I would say that he is literally a professional hater. Truly, utterly, if he could fill out his job application, right, he is putting down buck nasty for anyone who watches the Chappelle Show. Okay. He hates on things that I truly don't think he fully knows as to why he is hating on them. We had a conversation of saying, I hate Dame Lillard because of his rap albums. I don't know how many people listen to Dame Lillard's rap albums. I don't know if people even care about that. But to truly base your level of hate on a guy's essential side project is what we like to call a choice. But the one thing I will say about hate in general, boy, does that fuel some great, great entertainment. And the reason why I bring this up is that boy Wemby, he hates Chet. Not like, oh, these two guys don't like each other. No, that man is offended. You cannot tell me that every time Chet is at the free throw line and this man is openly cheering at missed free throws, that is not some deep, unabashed hate. And until last night, Wemby been kicking this team's ass the whole season. Spurs and the OKC played the 4th game that they did this year. The game was fairly close for the first two quarters, and then the third quarter, the OKC does what they normally do to most teams, and they go on that run really fast and blew the game right open. This, to me, right now, is what the NBA is dreaming to happen, right? You have this seemingly unbeatable team, or what a lot of people assume to be unbeatable, versus this unstoppable force. And at the moment, both teams would have to make the conference finals to play each other in the playoffs. But the Spurs are so close to the sixth seed. Anything can happen if you just go on a little bit of a losing streak. So we don't really know when these guys would play each other in playoffs, or even if it would come to be. But the hatred that these guys seem to have for one another is this beautiful part of what a real deal rivalry can be. And I am not picking either of these teams to make the finals, but don't get it twisted. The Spurs can absolutely get to the finals. I think that they are my fourth pick of the three that I have ahead of them at the moment. Really, I would say third, because Houston is starting to honestly falter a little bit, but they absolutely have a chance to make some real noise come postseason time. And those games, if they are able to match up to each other, would be outstanding. Okay. They potentially could play each other 12 times in a year. I don't know when's the last time a team has played another team potentially 12 times, because they're going to play 5 times because of the conference final, or because of the NBA Cup. And if they meet in the playoffs, that could potentially go 7 games. But this is something that we need to see. Okay. Like, I don't know. I don't have that kind of MAGA gene in me per se, but there was something inside of me that was getting mad that Chet kept getting smacked up by someone who wasn't from here. Okay. And, Chet, just play your Rick Ross. I know you're really into that Ross. I got some 50 Cent for you. That NBA young boy. That's not my style, but you're a little younger than me. So, you could get your mind right, because we can't keep seeing this. This is not looking great out here for you. The team I do have winning the Eastern Conference and potentially seeing one of these two teams in the finals might have a little bit of an issue. So the New York Knicks right now are second in the Eastern Conference, 3.5 games back, I believe, of the Detroit Pistons, who are having an outstanding season. And the last game that this team played, they would have played a game by the time 2 games actually by the time you guys listen to this podcast. We were recording this on Wednesday night. They played the Portland Trailblazers in a game where their highest paid player, and you can argue the second best player, had a pretty efficient game. He scored 20 points, had a couple rebounds. Defense was good. And he didn't play most of the fourth quarter. He sat out the last 9 minutes and change. And there was some confusion because it looked like he hurt his knee. So people were like, is he out because of the knee or whatever? And it wasn't really confirmed until Mike Brown basically came out and said, nah, like I did that. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, nah, I didn't put him back in the game. And I've had this whole thing for this season. This is the first time I said it on this podcast for this year. This whole season, especially in the Eastern Conference, the one player that this season is going to be based on is going to be on Karl Anthony Towns. Okay. I have stated this a long time because people have argued whether or not you should play Karl Anthony Towns at 4, play him at 5. Karl Anthony Towns, if you want to have the best version of your team, needs to be one of the best offenses in basketball, right? And you need to hold up defensively. Okay. Knicks are doing that right now. Okay. Defense is a little worse than what people expect it to be, because the offense, by and large part, has been outstanding most of the year. The reason why you get someone like Karl Anthony Towns is for him to play center, because he opens up the floor in such a way that a lot of the other players can get a lot of other things that get from it. Just his presence alone on the court tilted defense to the point where guys are just getting open threes and getting open looks to the layup or to the lane, etc., etc., etc. But that boy is so allergic to physicality, is getting frustrated. And ultimately, when the Knicks traded for him last season, they made a bet that they can win the whole thing with this guy. And at the end of the day, fair or unfair, and I honestly believe that some of the criticism of Cat is unfair. No one cares about that come the postseason time, my brother. You got to ball. And if you do not ball, you got to start learning some what they call Milwaukee-ese, some Phoenix, I don't know if they want you back in Minnesota, but you already learned that language, they will get your ass up out of here. And you just got engaged. Congratulations. I think y'all like living in New York or Jersey, wherever exactly you live, but I think you like being here. And at the end of the day, it's on you. All right. You got the pen and the paper. Only you can control the story. No one else is out here that can do anything to stop you from getting the life that you want to live. But I'm telling you, I've seen the comments, Carl. It is not going to be good for you if this team does not get to the finals. I believe I have the Knicks winning the championship. I have them winning it over Denver. But that is going to be a large conversation about what's going to happen if Detroit got you looking crazy out here in the conference finals or in the semifinals whenever you guys decide to meet each other. So get your head in the game, my brother. Speaking of in the game, sliding on over, of course, we're going to talk about the Lakers, right? Because that is half of what NBA content seems to care about. So the Lakers are having a odd season in the sense that they are doing well. They're one of the top 3 teams in the West. No, I believe recently they've actually dropped to like top 4, but they're not that far from, honestly, they're not that far from being the 2 seed in the Western Conference. But their point differential is not good, and their record looks a lot better than what their actual like statistical analysis looks like. Dropped a couple games recently, and it's come out that essentially the Austin Reeves agent basically walked up on Rich Paul and basically, to surmise, had some words. We don't know what those words were, but it was a nice 5-minute conversation. And here's kind of the issue with this, because Rich has essentially made it very clear that he has damn near said every single type of way that the Lakers need to trade Austin Reeves without saying, right? Whether it's he needs to go on the bench or they need to get more size or they need to get more athletic. There's only one guy that they can move if they want real stuff back, and that's Reeves. I think at some point that stuff is going to permeate into a locker room and it's just going to make things awkward, right? Because here's kind of the thing that I feel is happening that no one's really talking about, right? I personally think that this run with the Lakers is akin to Michael Jordan's run with the Wizards, right? Now, it's not apples to apples, obviously. The Lakers won a championship with LeBron. The Lakers were the number 1 seed as well with LeBron. But they have been so up and down ever since he got to the team. And they were able to get a parachute in the terms of Nico Harrison and getting Luka on the team. But I think that they are in a clear LeBron retirement tour, and they just don't know it yet. Because this team is not doing anything in the playoffs. They can't defend anybody at all. And when teams are able to lock in on these guys, their offense is not going to be able to be so sustainable going forward that they're just going to blow everyone out the door. I think that this team could have moments, but I don't think they're better than OKC. I don't think they're better than Houston. I don't think they're better than the Spurs. I don't think they're definitely not better than Denver. And I think pretty much I'd pick Minnesota over them too. And to get to the finals, you got to beat at least 2 of them teams, right? And I just don't see them doing that in the come postseason time, which is why I think they are on this treadmill of mediocrity, but with purple and gold lights attached to them, right? Like, they're fun to watch at times, but I don't think this team is going anywhere. And it is going to be very interesting to see what happens when this season is over, because we do not know what LeBron is going to do. He's obviously keeps trolling people about when he's going to retire or not. But he is clearly doing what he can to still stay in the spotlight. And again, this is no shame to LeBron. To me, he's the greatest player of all time. If he wants to have a real retirement tour, he should, right? Do all this stuff for you. But as far as the Lakers winning anything, no, that's done. Okay. And this tension that seems to keep being built with the team, especially that the fact that you can argue the second best player on the team has an agent who's going on podcasts talking essentially around the fact that one of the players on that agent's team should get traded. It's a very odd situation overall with the Lakers this season, but when is it ever not? All right. That is the whole pod that we have for you guys for today and this week. Make sure you guys, again, like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll be back talking all this sports for you guys next week. All right, everyone. Peace out.